Do 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 do. Hey, how's it going? It's Nancy Gamon. Thanks for hanging out with me. Today we're going to put some power in our pants. Flower power, that is. We're going to ice dye a pair of yoga pants with some splashy floral designs. I'm starting out with a pair of white yoga pants that are 92% cotton, 8% spandex. They've been soaking in a soda ash solution for about 10 minutes. When I'm dyeing a three-dimensional object like an article of clothing, it's easy to lose track of what goes where. So I made myself a little doodle about where I wanted the flowers to be and what colors, and I'm going to go ahead and mark those spots on the pants before I get started. I've color-coded some binder clips so that I can keep track of which color goes where. The first bloom that I want to do is up on the hip, so I'm just going to put a binder clip where I want the center of the flower to be. I'm going to put an orange flower a little further down on the other side. I want to put a purple flower about in the knee, another red flower on the inside of this leg, and then end up with an orange bloom down here at the corner. The blooms are created by making a series of triangle folds. The side seam is going to act like the first fold. So my next step is to fold the fabric in half at this center point where I want the bloom to be. And then I'm going to start making a series of triangle folds from that center mark. I'm going to flip it over and do the same triangle design on the other side. And then I'm going to use my binder clip to hold the folds together and remind me that this bloom is going to be red. I'm going to repeat that same technique where I have my other clips. So here again, the seam forms the first fold. I'm just going to fold it in half at that point and continue making some triangles. I have an orange one that's on the outside seam. And now I have a couple that are a little different. I have one that's down at the corner of the pant leg. So here, the outer seam is like the first fold of the flower. There's nothing to fold up here since this is the center. So we're just going to pretend like fabric has already been folded, and then there's just the triangle to make with just the one side. Now what's left is the bloom that's going to be in the center of the knee. So that I do need to make a fold. It's going to form a vertical line there. Get it straightened out a little bit, and then I'm going to fold it in half at that point. That's going to be the center of the bloom, and fold down the triangles from there. So now I would absolutely be completely lost without these markers. Where each clip is, I'm going to loosen up the fabric a little bit so that the folds are tight, but then it kind of blossoms out into the rest of the fabric. And this will create a nice design of tight blooms that evolve into abstract organic foliage. So you can see without the clips, I would have no idea what was going on. But now I'm color coded and I'm ready to set the project into my dyeing pan. So I have a plastic bin that I'm topping with a cooling rack. On top of that, I'm putting a metal baking pan that has holes punched in the bottom. And then I'm just putting a couple pieces of paper in the bottom so that the fabric doesn't pick up the design from the holes. The tricky part is always trying to figure out how to get the project arranged in the pan. It's going to make it easy to get the dye colors where I want them to go. So I'm kind of bunching the fabric that's going to be the background green foliage in the center here, and I've got my blooms sort of poking off to the sides. So I'm going to take these binder clips and I'm just going to clip them onto the edge of the pan so that I can remember what's going on, which color is going where. And now I'm going to wrap each of the blooms in a damp rag. These are just used makeup remover towelettes that have gone through the wash. I'm wrapping them with a little rag partly to help the folds keep their shape and stay together when the ice gets put on top, and partly to protect the fabric from spots, since not all of the powdered dye turns to liquid during the process. Some people like to turn their garments inside out to try and avoid the spots from the powdered dye. But since I need something to hold the folds together anyway, might as well just protect them at the same time. Now I'm also going to lay a protective cloth down the center of the project. I'm going to use one that's a different color, and this will help me see what needs to go where. Once the ice gets on the project, it's kind of hard to see what's going on underneath it, and so a colored rag will let me know that that's where I want to put the dye colors for the foliage. Now that the project is protected and I can see what colors need to go where, I'm going to cover the project with a layer of ice cubes. Now I'm ready to sprinkle on the powdered dye. I'm using Procyon fiber reactive dye, which is designed to work well with fabrics that are made from 100% plant fibers. These pants are not 100% plant fiber, they're 92% cotton and 8% spandex, but I purchased them from a dye company, so I'm trusting that they'll take the dye well. While wearing a dust mask, I'm going to start by sprinkling on some bright yellow at the tip of each of the folds for the flowers. This is going to create a bright yellow center in the middle of each bloom. Then I'm going to sprinkle on the colors for the petals. I'm going to do 2 blooms in scarlet, 2 blooms in deep orange, and 1 bloom in deep purple. For the foliage area, I like to use 3 different colors of green, 1 light, 1 medium, and 1 dark, to create some depth and interest of color in that area. So I'm sprinkling on lime pop, avocado, and moss green. I'm going to finish by sprinkling just little tiny bits of bright yellow and bazooka pink over the foliage area, and this will help it look like there are just tiny buds of flowers sprinkled throughout the grass. Now the pants are ready to rest overnight. This will allow time for the ice to melt, the powder to turn to liquid, and the beautiful tendrils of color to melt into the fabric and become permanent. I'm going to leave the project just as it is, undisturbed, for about 22 to 24 hours. All right, let's take a look at what's going on with these pants. It looks like the rag really caught a lot of undissolved dye in the foliage area, but we've got some good strong colors where the flowers are, I think. Let's see what they look like. So we've got a nice green color at the waist. Looks like a good red flower here at one hip. We have the purple bloom in the center, and the orange one coming off the edge of the hem there. Orange flower on this hip, and then a red one at the inner seam. I'm going to try and open up the side seam a little bit here so we can get a better idea of what the flowers look like down the side. So the next step is to take this to the sink and rinse the pants in cold running water until the water runs clear. Then wash them in hot water with a splash of professional textile detergent. Rinse that out in cold water. Then let the pants sit in hot water with a splash of Retain dye fixative for about 20 minutes, and then rinse that out. Then the pants are ready to dry, wear, and enjoy. So let me take care of all that rinsing and washing behind the scenes, and I'll be back to show you what the finished pants look like. I love the way the colors turned out on these pants. They are so bright and cheerful, and there's all kinds of interesting designs in the foliage and where the blooms meet the green background. Super fun pair of pants to wear. They make me feel like dancing. If you'd like to experiment together, I'd love to see you at one of my virtual workshops. Sign yourself up for my email newsletter list. There's a registration link in the video description. This is the best way to get first chance at workshop registration and score discounts. I hope to be creating with you soon. Do 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 do.